Aloha, this is Evan from StandUpPaddleSurf.net
And I'm Robert with Blue Planet Surf.
And today's another episode of Board Meeting. Today we're going to go through the top 3 things needed for stand-up paddle surfing.
Okay, well, just the 3 things are to prepare, get ready for it before you go out on the surf, and then to practice the techniques, and then to persevere and get out there, and we'll talk a little bit about how to get in the right position, basically, or how to get out to the waves in the first place.
So we'll call it the 3 Ps. The 3 Ps of SUP.
Stand-up paddle surfing.
So it's like SUPPP.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing to talk about is getting ready for it. And there's a lot of things you can do in flat water before you go out in the surf. So, if you're new to stand-up paddling, even if you know how to surf and you're a good surfer, you shouldn't just go right into the surf. You don't want to learn in the surf how to stand-up paddle. I mean, it's a different sport. You got to learn how to balance the board, how to use the paddle, how to steer the board, things like that before you can catch waves, So I think that's one of the biggest mistakes is for people to just go head straight into the surf on their first session out. And I mean, I actually did that, and I was lucky enough to have like a perfect day, small waves, and it was calm, and I was able to catch some waves. But then the next time it was windy, choppy, and I was struggling, and then I was like, okay, I better figure out how to do this before
I caught nothing the first day.
Before I got in the surf. So, ideally, you want to practice in flat water, learn how to use your paddle, learn steering strokes, learn forward strokes, learn how to turn your board effectively, where to stand on the board, how to trim it out, how to move around on your board, things like that.
Maybe they should just go to the playlist. We'll link to a playlist down here because you have all that kind of stuff in small videos. So
yeah,
I think a good thing is to, like you said, learn these things first and then practice them, right?
Yeah.
So the second step would be to actually go out and practice that stuff, right? So practice your paddle stroke and make sure that your paddle is, angled forward and you're not looking like an ice cream scoop going back. That's, one thing. That's how you can tell. Easy tell the beginners. Like, I've always had people like, oh, I got it. I know what I'm doing. I'm like, you sure you know what you're doing? Yep, I know what I'm doing. And then they try to get up and they have that thing looking like an ice scooper and you're like, okay. Yeah, you know what you're doing.
Kind of a giveaway.
All right. Yeah. So practice, right? Practice what you learn on the videos, practice what you learn from your friends teaching you and so on. Try to get that from the best people. Yeah.
Right. So, and then also moving your feet around on the board is an important skill to learn because you got to move your feet from parallel stance into the surf stance, kind of parallel,
You're talking when you're dropping in on a wave.
Yeah, basically, right. As soon as you catch a wave, you need to move your weight back. Otherwise, your board's going to start purling or whatever. As you accelerate, you're going to fall backwards and things like that. So if you're not comfortable moving your feet around on flat water, there's no way you're going to be able to do it while you're catching a wave because there's so many things going on. Getting into the surf stance, doing pivot turns. Those are the kind of skills you should already know how to do before you get in the surf. You do want to practice moving your feet around, so you prepare for that in flat water, so you're ready.
So we would do the drills that you showed in your video?
Yeah, the drills are really good. Those, for catching waves or bumps. And then also the acceleration strokes, like short, quick strokes versus the long, drawn-out strokes. And
short, quick strokes you're talking about in the front part of you,
in front of your feet.
In front of you, yeah.
Yeah. And then so once you practice that and you have a good day, good conditions, a good spot that's not crowded, then you're ready to try it. Before we get into catching the waves, let's talk first about getting into the waves, going through the white water, getting out to where you want to be, and kind of judging the location where you want to be also to catch the waves,
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
Because you got to get out before you catch the wave, or it just catches you.
Yeah. So in some places have a tricky shore break, so just getting from the beach into the water can be kind of tricky. So definitely want to make sure you always put your leash on before you go in the water. And then, watch the waves for a while. And if there's a shore break, you got to wait for a little break. And then, get on, when there's a break, you jump over basically the last wave coming in. You just get right over it and get on your board quickly and kind of maybe paddle on your knees out past the shore break, Yeah. So sometimes you just have to get out there quickly. And ideally for stand-up surfing, you want to pick a break that has like a point break where the waves are breaking in one area and you can kind of paddle around it and avoid the breaking
So
waves.
you're talking about because there's channels of flat water around it.
Right.
Yeah, so you can get out of the way.
A point break is where the break always is in one place, and then on the side there's a channel where the water kind of sucks back out, and there's no breaking waves, and there's like a deeper water channel where you can paddle back out easily. But that said, in some places where there's just sandy bottom and it's just shore break, there won't be a channel, So sometimes you just have to go through the white water. And if that's the case, then just go on a smaller day when the white water is kind of manageable. And a lot of times, if it's kind of a slopey sandy bottom, you can kind of walk out with your board and kind of get out pretty far through the white water, and then just kind of jump on your knees and try to paddle out quickly before the next bigger waves come. Kind of choose a time between sets. And then another good way to get out is on your stomach, like prone paddling. And you can put the paddle under your chest, so that with the blade facing up towards your chest, so the paddle sticks up, not leaning down against the board, basically sticking up. And then you can just paddle on your chest, and if a wave comes, you can grab both rails with your hands. So that's a good skill to practice too before you.
It's good not to do it too many times though, because it kind of can create some weakness in your paddle, I think, huh?
Not if you have it the right way. As if you have it upside down, then you can damage the paddle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to have it the right way up. So then I don't think it really damages the paddle. But and that's a good position, the fallback position to get into when the waves are like there's white water coming and stuff, to get in the prone position and start paddling like that. But it's something you should paddle practice that in flat water as well. So you're prepared to do that when you need it quickly.
Also, when we go out through the whitewash, sometimes it's helpful to go into either a semi-surf stance or into your surf stance to kind of punch through it, because and then you have to decide, are you going to try and go over it, or are you going to try and go like through it or under it? Because if you go through it or under it, then you pretty much have to figure out the balance between leaning back and shoving that thing through, because otherwise you fly off the front. And then you use your paddle as a brace. You can either, as you're paddling through it, use it as a brace on the top of the whitewash, or dig it in again and pull in. But the paddle is really a helpful balancing tool as you're trying to get up and over. And sometimes you just get pounded. So you really got to watch, because if the wave is at the wrong point, and you kind of going up, that board can easily come back up like this and whack you in the face or in your chest and so on. You can get injured. So really got to kind of make sure you keep an eye out for that, because if it catches that front nose, it happens in a split second. You really don't have much time to guard yourself. I've seen it happen quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, going out through the waves, one other important thing is if the white water's coming at you, you want to be pointed with the nose straight into the wave. If you're just a little bit off, like if the wave kind of hits the board sideways, it's just going to throw you off. So what you want to do is have some speed, get a little bit of movement going into the wave, and kind of point straight into the white water, and then lean back a little bit to go over it. Like you said, put your 1 foot back a little bit, lean back a little bit. But what you want to avoid is leaning too far back, because then, like you said, then the board's going to come back at you, hit you in the face or whatever, come towards you. So what you want to do is lean back quickly to lift the nose up to get onto the white water. But then kind of as soon as you get up on, kind of you're riding up onto the white water, you want to lean forward again to get the board over the top, and then maybe either brace your paddle or pull, so you're kind of pulling past that white water. So what you want to do is tip the board up to get over it, and then lean forward again as soon as you're up over the white water.
Plus, sometimes it's a better move to try to get around it.
Yeah.
So if white water's coming this way, instead of taking it head on, you paddle out toward the shoulder and you can get around it.
Yeah, but if there's a wall of white water coming, then you got to be pointed straight into it. You don't want to be sideways to it.
And then if in doubt also, one thing that a lot of times beginners do, because I know I've done it before, is it's like, oh my gosh, the white water's coming, laters, and you just dive in and let the board go. But if there's people surfing around there, that becomes kind of dangerous. So you want to keep that board, try not to ditch it like right in front of somebody catching a wave. If in doubt, sometimes what happens is you can just turn around, lie down on it, hold toward the end of the board, and let the whitewash take you back in. Because as the whitewash takes you back in, it'll die down, and then you get into an area where you can either go around, or it's easier to kind of punch through, or wait for the set to subside. So if you're in in an area where like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of totally stuck, I don't know where to go. If in doubt, sometimes it's best to turn that board around towards shore, grab at the end of it, hold your paddle to, either put a paddle under here or hold in your hand or so on, and then just hold on and bodyboard that thing back in.
Yeah, exactly. So if there's a break that has a channel, it's usually easier just to go out to the end of the break and then go around in the channel instead of trying to punch through it. You know, I mean, especially if there's a set coming or something. And that's another thing, the timing. You know, it's
like avoiding traffic or something,
sometimes
right?
you just have to wait out the set and then go out when the set kind of subsides and there's less waves, and then kind of paddle quickly to get back out during the lull in between the waves.
Because there is some panic that sets in a lot of times. You know, if things are kind of bigger than you expect, you're falling off your board, you have to grab your paddle, your hat maybe, or so on. Guys and gals are surfing around you. It's like, you know, things are moving really fast.
And you don't want to be. You don't want
get out
to
of there.
Yeah, you don't want to be stuck in the impact zone.
Yeah.
Where other people are trying to take off. You just get out of the way basically and go in, head in, not back out.
Yeah, and that's where the whole practice piece comes into play, because, you know, the more practice you got, the more comfortable you are with your board, the more comfortable you are in that settings with the people and so on, then the easier that it gets. Yeah. And more fun that it gets.
And I've seen people, like, when they fall off and their board's pulling on them, the leash pulling, and they're trying to swim out past the waves with the board pulling them one way, and they're trying to swim back out, and the waves are coming, and then they just kind of get stuck in the impact zone. So yeah, you're better
off.
That's
panic already.
Just going in. Just go in. Yeah. Let the waves push you in. And then eventually, you'll get it on the inside. You just want to get out of the impact zone, you know. So don't swim in towards the breaking waves. You want to kind of get away from.
Which actually brings us to another point: reef. If you're in an area where there's reef, especially shallow reef or exposed reef, and let's say that the reef is on the inside and this is where it's breaking, if you did that turnaround move, and you might end up back on the reef. So you really need to be cognizant of where things actually are, and that's where the local knowledge comes into play. That's where it's good to kind of scope it out first if you haven't been there. That's where it's good to talk to locals there about how the break is, because there's going to be certain areas that probably are dangerous that you want to avoid, and it's best to avoid them.
Yes, true. And you probably don't want to surf in a spot like that where the shallow reef is right on the inside. And then obviously when you fall into, that's another thing too, like when the waves are small, especially in Hawaii, the waves always break over reefs. You know, there's rocky, kind of sharp reef on the bottom, and the smaller the waves are, like kind of the wave has to kind of touch the bottom. So if the wave is only 1 foot high, then the bottom's probably only going to be about 1 foot deep underneath, right? So like the waves break in about the same depth of water as they're tall. You know, so a 2 foot wave will break like in 2 foot water. You know, basically, right? I mean, so the smaller the waves are, the more shallow it's going to be. And so you want to avoid, when you fall in, you don't want to jump in feet first, because you're going to go deep into the water and hit the bottom hard, and your feet are going to get all cut up. What you want to do is fall flat and then let your body kind of absorb the impact of your fall.
Try not to sink as much as you can.
Yeah, and then when you get back on, you try not to kick your feet down. You kick your feet up behind you and just slide yourself back onto your board, you know. Avoid kicking down or kicking the reef with your feet. I mean, you can wear booties too, but then that sometimes gives you a false sense of security too, I think. But
best not to kick the reef.
Yeah, booties are probably good for beginners in Hawaii.
Yeah, in Hawaii, definitely booties help.
Yeah.
It's best to not go where it's really shallow reef, though. How about that? That's probably the better move.
Yeah, but at the same time, like basically, if you want to catch waves on a small day, you basically have to go where it's shallow. You know, otherwise they're not. The waves only break when it's shallow enough where the waves can touch bottom, you know. So if the waves are big, then the water's going to be deep, but then the waves are too big to catch when
so that's a good day for flat water paddling and snorkeling.
So anyway, but so that's something to keep in mind, that you want to be prepared for more shallow water, and you have to, you know. And then another thing is like where you position yourself, but we'll talk about that in our next show. Okay.
But perseverance I think goes into play, where stand-up paddling in general, it can be easy or it can be hard. And a lot of times I find that for guys especially, we tend to think we're way better than we are. And it's harder, right? So how many times have you had it where somebody tells you, oh, I've been surfing my whole life, I can do this. And then you're like, seriously, you should try this bigger one. No, I can go on this one and so on. They jump on and they spend like an hour swimming. And then after that, you're like, how'd you do? And they're like, oh, I did pretty good. You know, it's like, seriously,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. And that was like me. I mean, I thought I got this down, and I couldn't even stand for like 3 days.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. The equipment is super important to have the right board for your skill level and what you're trying to do. I mean, obviously, especially in Hawaii on the South Shore, a lot of the waves are kind of slopey. So having a longer board with more glide, it just makes it so much easier to catch a wave.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're trying to like surf and you're doing it for the first time, don't get like a board that's like under 10 feet and like a short board. I mean, it's just going to make it harder for you to even catch anything, you know. So it doesn't matter how well it turns if you can't catch a wave with it, you know. So in the beginning, I would say like 10-6 or longer is just going to make it much easier to glide into a wave, and that's what in the beginning, that's what you need. You don't need a short board that turns easily because you don't even know how to turn yet, you know.
You would recommend that size board even for someone, let's say that they're really lightweight, like 160 pounds or something like that?
It
tell them
depends.
to go that long too?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, yeah, if you're really light, you can get away with something shorter and narrower, you know, but like, yeah, so it definitely depends on the height and weight of the person. But I mean, even for a shorter person, a longer board, like at least 10 feet, I would say, is just makes it easier to glide into the wave, get that speed and tracking, and make it easier to catch the wave in the first place. And, you know, once you know how to catch the waves, then yeah, a smaller board will make it easier to surf it and turn and so on and maneuver it. But the first time out, I mean, you're just better off with something a little bit longer.
It's like golf.
Right.
You buy the easier golf clubs, it's easier to play golf. I mean, yes, you can get lessons and that helps all the way around, but you know, if you go with blades, you're gonna be suffering, man, in the beginning, unless you're super awesome or something. So it's kind of the same way here. I'd rather get something that I can do, because that's where the perseverance comes in, right? It's put in the time, at least 10 hours, 20 hours or so. I'd say after 20 hours, if you hate it, then probably not gonna like it. But if you're having a hard time, 20 hours is more than enough time for you to kind of get the feeling and get better and get over the hump of, can I do this or not? So that's what I would say for perseverance. 20 hours, put in 20 hours, could be, I don't know, 10 sessions or so. And you should have a pretty good idea if this is gonna be something for you or not. But definitely, especially now, so much equipment, you can get on something really easy that basically anyone can ride. I mean, you can be 320 pounds and have something that's fairly easy for you to ride, and you can be 120 pounds and have something fairly easy for you to ride. Basically almost customized toward you, but in a production body. So, so that's kind of the thing. Get something fit for you and then put the time in.
All right. So if you watch the first 2 episodes, you should know about etiquette, how to choose the right spot for you to go to, basically how to prepare for surfing, stand-up paddle surfing, you know, how to get out to the waves in the first place, you know, choosing the right equipment, all that. So next we're going to talk about how to actually catch a wave and then what to do when you're on a wave. So that's going to be episode 3. So thanks for watching, and also check out the next episode. I'm Robert.
I'm Evan. Check out our websites at blueplanetsurf.com, StandUpPaddleSurf.net, and please give us a thumbs up, please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha, I'm Chelsea Harden, Miss Hawaii USA.
I'm Joanna Lee O'Call, Miss Hawaii Teen USA.
And I'm Miss Aloha Maui Outstanding Teen Evelyn Del Valle.
Thanks for watching our board meeting.
Please subscribe
and give us a thumbs up.
Thanks for watching.